Every day you wait is a day you stay the same, but every day you improve, even just 1%. You create a future most people will never have. That's the truth no one teaches you. They tell you to dream big, to work hard, to stay positive, but they don't show you how to grow in real life. They don't tell you the secret. Real change comes from small wins stacked daily, not from motivation or luck. Completing lesson number 7, 1% better every day. The secret they don't teach you isn't just a title. It's a mindset. It's a strategy. It's a way of life for people who are tired of feeling behind and ready to take control. In this message, you'll learn what actually works. No fluff, no hype, just clear, simple steps that help you move forward, one action at a time. If you've ever felt stuck, unmotivated, or like change is too far away, this will shift how you see your time, your habits, and your potential. This is not about perfection. This is about progress that sticks. Starting today. Chapter 1. Take one step today you usually avoid taking. Most people know exactly what they need to do. That's not the problem. The problem is they keep skipping over it. They know there's one step they need to take, something uncomfortable, something they've put off, but they avoid it. They say they'll do it tomorrow. They say they're thinking about it, but in reality, they're scared of it. They're afraid of failing. They're afraid it will change things, but growth starts the moment you face that fear. You don't need to overhaul your entire life today. You just need to take the step you've been avoiding. It might feel small to others, but it's huge for you. Maybe it's saying no when you always say yes. Maybe it's getting out of bed on time. Maybe it's telling the truth when you've been quiet. The world teaches you to look for motivation or inspiration, but nobody teaches you the secret. The uncomfortable step you keep avoiding is the only thing standing between who you are and who you could become. That's the truth. The longer you avoid it, the longer you stay stuck. So today, forget the excuses and take that one step. That's how 1% better begins. Taking action doesn't require perfection. It just requires honesty. You have to look at yourself and admit what you're running from. Every single day we make choices, and one of the biggest choices is whether we do what's necessary or what's easy. You can fool people around you. You can even keep smiling, but you can't fool yourself. Deep down, you know what you've been avoiding. You feel it when you wake up. It bothers you at night, that step you keep pushing aside. It doesn't go away, it waits. It grows heavier. That's why some people feel tired without even doing much. Their mind is tired from holding on to things they haven't faced. Progress comes when you face what you don't want to face. That's the beginning of discipline. That's when you stop hoping and start changing. The 1% rule isn't about motivation. It's about doing the hard things first. The uncomfortable, the awkward, the unfamiliar. That's how you grow. That's how you build trust with yourself. Because nothing changes until you change your behavior. And you don't need a massive shift. You just need to start doing what you've been pretending not to see. There's a certain pain that comes from staying the same. People don't talk about it, but it's real. It's the pain of regret. It's the weight of knowing you could have done something, but you didn't. and that pain grows slowly. It doesn't show up all at once. It creeps in when you look at your life and realize months have passed and nothing has changed. Not because you weren't capable, but because you didn't take that first step. Avoidance is the enemy of growth. Every time you delay that step, you teach your mind that comfort matters more than progress, and that belief becomes a habit, a dangerous one. That's why you need to stop saying someday. You need to act today. Even if it's just one small step, that's enough. That's how progress starts, not with a big breakthrough, but with a quiet decision to stop avoiding. That decision changes everything. Appalling with the decision to stop avoiding. That decision changes everything. It rewires your mindset. It rebuilds your confidence. Because you're finally doing something that moves you forward. That's 1% better. And that's powerful, because when you keep repeating that, you won't even recognize who you were a year ago. Nobody teaches you how to handle the fear that comes with growth. Most of us were never shown how to face the unknown. We were taught to play it safe, stay comfortable, don't risk failure. But safety doesn't lead to change, and comfort doesn't build confidence. You gain confidence by taking action, even while you're afraid, even when you're unsure. Think about it. What's the thing you know you need to do, but it makes your stomach turn? What's the conversation you've been avoiding? What's the routine you keep saying you'll start tomorrow? That's the step. That's your starting point. Take it. You don't need to be confident before you act. You gain confidence after you act. That's the part no one teaches. Most people wait to feel ready. But readiness doesn't come. Action creates readiness. Movement creates motivation. Start before you feel like it. Start while it's messy. Start when you're not sure how it ends. That's how you build momentum. That's how people change their lives, one step at a time, one hard moment at a time. And eventually, what once scared you becomes part of who you are. There's no secret formula. It's simple. You either do the work or you don't. You either face the thing you're avoiding or you stay where you are. Everyone wants growth, but not everyone wants to go through discomfort. And that's the difference. Growth isn't found in information. It's found in action. Real change happens when you stop negotiating with yourself. When you say, I don't feel like it, but I'm doing it anyway. That's strength. That's how you take control of your life. The step you're avoiding is always louder in your mind than it is in reality. It looks big from a distance. But the moment you take it, you realize it's not as bad as you thought. And now you've taken power back. You've proved to yourself that you're not controlled by fear. You're not controlled by comfort. You're not controlled by delay. That one action can change your entire rhythm. You walk differently. You think differently. Because you've stepped through the thing most people avoid their entire lives. You've moved from stuck to progress. And it started with one decision. If you want to feel proud, stop waiting for motivation and take responsibility for your next move. One of the most powerful feelings in the world is when you do something you've been avoiding for a long time. It's not even about the result. It's about the relief, the mental freedom, the sense that you're finally showing up for your own life. We've been taught to measure success by big goals, but the truth is, daily self-respect matters more, and self-respect comes from action. Every time you do what you said you would do, you grow a little. You feel lighter. You feel stronger. It's not about perfection. It's about being honest with yourself. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you followed through on something that scared you? When was the last time you stopped running from the hard thing? That's the difference between staying the same and becoming better. Nobody's coming to force you. Nobody's coming to rescue you. You are the one who has to decide. And the good news is, it only takes one step. Take it. Feel the fear and do it anyway. We all have something we avoid. You're not weak for feeling that resistance. You're human. But here's the truth. You don't grow by avoiding what challenges you. You grow by facing it head on. Some people wait their whole life to feel ready. But ready doesn't come. Clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. That's why you must stop waiting for a sign. You don't need more signs. You need more action. The longer you sit in hesitation, the heavier everything feels. That's why you feel stuck. That's why your energy is low. It's not because you're lazy. It's because you're drained from carrying unfinished decisions. You can change that today. You can take one real step, not a big leap, just one step you've been avoiding. And once you take it, you start feeling alive again. You start feeling proud again, because you're no longer stuck in your own mind. You're moving. And movement builds strength. If you want to build a better life, start by doing what most people avoid. That's how you separate yourself from average. Here's what's important. What you do when no one's watching matters more than what you say when they are. You don't have to announce your step. You don't have to post about it. You just need to take it. Quiet progress is the most powerful kind. Because it's real, it's not for attention, it's for your future. That step you keep skipping, it's personal. It's something only you understand, and that's okay. You don't need to explain it to anyone, just act on it. Because every time you take that kind of step, you build something inside that nobody can take from you. That's self-belief. That's self-discipline. That's self-mastery. And those are the things that will carry you forward when life gets hard. Motivation fades, applause fades. But self-respect, that lasts. And it starts by doing the work no one sees. It starts by choosing the step no one forces you to take. That's real power. That's real growth. Take that step today, and you'll thank yourself tomorrow. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a detailed blueprint. You need action. The step you're avoiding doesn't require more thought. It requires courage. And courage doesn't mean you feel confident. It means you do it even when you don't. Most of life's rewards don't go to the smartest or the most talented. They go to the ones who move. The ones who don't let fear stop them. You've waited long enough. You've thought about it long enough. You've talked yourself out of it long enough. Now it's time to make a new choice. The kind of choice that creates a better future. Not overnight, but over time. That's the 1% better rule. Small actions, daily effort, honest steps. Over time, they stack up into something life-changing. But it all begins with the step you've been dodging. Today, you stop dodging. Today, you step in. When you look back 6 months from now, what will you remember? The comfort you protected, or the step you took that changed everything? That's the question you must answer. You don't get better by accident, you get better by choice. And today you have that choice. Don't underestimate what one action can do. One step can start a habit. One habit can shift your mindset. That mindset can shape your future. You don't need permission. You don't need the perfect timing. You just need to decide. Do what you've been avoiding. It might feel small. It might feel scary. But it's real. And it matters. That one action can break a cycle. That one choice can build momentum. That's the secret they don't teach you. The one uncomfortable step you usually avoid is the exact one that will make you stronger. Take it today. That's how you get 1% better every single day. Chapter 2. Own your choices instead of blaming your life. There comes a point where you have to stop looking around and start looking within. It's easy to point at life and say, "This is why I'm not where I want to be." It's easy to blame your parents, your past, your job, your environment, your education, your health, or your relationships. But here's the truth. Every time you blame something outside of you, you give away your power. You hand it over. And when you do that, you also hand over the chance to grow. You stay stuck because you've convinced yourself someone else is responsible for how your life feels. But no matter where you've come from, no matter how hard it's been, you're still the one making decisions every day. And those decisions are shaping your future, not your background, not your circumstances, your choice. It takes real strength to look in the mirror and say, "I've made choices that led me here." That's not weakness. That's ownership. That's how personal power is built. Because when you admit you've made certain choices, good or bad, you also admit that you can make new ones. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You stop needing things to be perfect. You realize that responsibility is freedom. When it's all on you, you finally have the ability to change it, and that changes everything. You begin to move differently, you speak differently, you think differently. Not because life got easier, but because you decided to take control of it. Life is not fair. That's a given. But fairness has never been a requirement for growth. If you keep focusing on what life did to you, you'll miss the part where you could have done something with it. We've all been hurt. We've all been held back in one way or another. Some people face more pain than others. That's real. But some of those same people rise anyway, not because they were lucky, but because they refused to let life be the reason they stayed broken. They owned their situation. They said, "I didn't choose this, but I choose what I do next." That's the mindset that changes your future. You stop being a victim and you start being a builder. You can't control everything, but you can control how you respond. And that response is where your power lives. Do you stay bitter or do you get better? Do you keep blaming your upbringing or do you work to become the person you wish raised you? Do you keep repeating the cycle or do you decide to break it for good? Every single choice you make is a vote for the life you're building. So ask yourself, what kind of life are you building with your choices right now? Not the ones you talk about, the ones you actually make every day. Most people don't realize how often they're giving their power away. When you say, "I can't help it, that's just how I am," you're giving your power away. When you say, I would have done better if they treated me differently, you're giving your power away. When you say, I'm too tired, too late, too behind, you're handing your future to the excuses. But when you own your choices, you get to say, I might not like where I am, but I'm not staying here. And that's when momentum begins. You stop reacting and start deciding. You stop blaming and start building. It's uncomfortable at first. That's why so few people do it. It's easier to find someone or something else to blame than it is to admit you've been in your own way. It's easier to point fingers than to point inward. But if you want real change, lasting change, it starts with full responsibility. Not half, not when it's convenient, full responsibility. That means every choice, every reaction, every pattern, every decision. You own it, not because you want to feel guilty. This isn't about guilt. It's about taking the driver's seat. Because if you're not driving, someone else is. And nobody else should be driving your life. Sometimes people say, but I didn't choose what happened to me. That's true. Many things happen to us that we didn't ask for. But what matters more is what you choose to do now. Life is not about avoiding pain. It's about how you respond to it. You can either carry it like a weight that drags you down, or you can use it like a tool to make you stronger. You can say, this broke me, or you can say, this built me, and whichever one you choose will shape the rest of your life. That's the power of ownership. It gives you your future back. You might not be able to change your past. You might not be able to erase what hurt you, but you can decide what to do with it. And that decision is yours alone. You can keep repeating the same story about why things didn't work out, or you can write a new one starting today. That's the beauty of choice. It's available to you no matter how far behind you feel. Every single morning, you get to decide what kind of person you want to be. And it doesn't have to be dramatic. Just decide to stop making the same excuse. Decide to take a different action. Decide to respond with maturity instead of emotion. That's what growth looks like. Quiet decisions made daily. Here's what most people don't want to admit. When you blame your life, you stay in the same place. It doesn't fix anything. It doesn't change the past. It doesn't improve the present. It just keeps you angry and stuck. But when you say, this is mine to change, you activate a part of yourself that's been asleep. The part that wants to fight for something better. The part that doesn't want to live in the same cycle anymore. That part is always there, but it only shows up when you stop pointing fingers and start taking charge. Ownership is not about perfection. You're still going to mess up, but now you'll learn, you'll adjust, you'll grow, because you've made yourself the one who's responsible for the outcome. Everything starts with that shift. No more blaming your mood, your past, your surroundings, your boss, your parents, your partner, your phone, your genetics, or the weather. It's not about them, it's about you. What are you choosing to do with what you've been given? That question is powerful, because once you answer it with honesty, everything becomes possible. You stop needing approval. You stop needing perfect conditions. You stop needing other people to change first. You just move. And when you move with that kind of ownership, you build a life that no one else can take from you. Not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. Every decision, every habit, every lesson, You earned it. So here's the truth. If you want to get 1% better every day, the first step is this: own your choices. Stop blaming your life. Stop waiting for someone else to do the work. You do it. You take responsibility. You fix the habits. You break the patterns. You face what needs to be faced. That's where progress begins. Not in information, not in inspiration, but in ownership. Because once you take ownership, you can't be stopped. You become the type of person who builds their life one choice at a time. And before you know it, those 1% choices turn into real change. You feel it in your energy. You see it in your results. And more than anything, you carry it in the way you live, not with blame, but with purpose. That's how transformation begins. And it starts with one decision. Own it all.
Chapter 3. Act now before overthinking kills your progress. Most people don't struggle because they're not smart enough or strong enough. They struggle because they're stuck in their head. They overthink every move. They ask too many questions. They look at every angle, and while they're busy thinking about what might go wrong, someone else is already doing the thing they're scared to start. Overthinking feels like progress, but it's just delay. It gives you the illusion that you're preparing, that you're being responsible, that you're being careful. But most of the time, you're just stalling. You're trying to avoid the discomfort of acting without having all the answers. But in life, you rarely get all the answers before you begin. You figure things out as you go. That's how real progress works. You learn by doing, not by thinking about doing. You can spend your life planning the perfect moment, but it'll never come. There's no perfect moment. There's only now. And the more time you spend debating with yourself, the less energy you have to actually move forward. The window closes. Your energy fades. Your belief drops. You become your own barrier. Action doesn't just move your goals forward. It shuts down the doubts. It silences the noise. The moment you take action, your focus shifts from fear to movement. You stop wondering what if, and start creating what's next. That shift in energy is everything. It's where momentum begins. You don't need to know everything. You just need to start with what you do know, and build from there. Overthinking usually shows up when you want things to be perfect. You want to make the right decision. You want to avoid failure. But what you're really doing is trying to avoid discomfort. And that discomfort is a necessary part of growth. You don't grow by playing it safe. You grow by taking calculated risks, learning through failure, adjusting, and trying again. The truth is, the people who succeed aren't the ones who waited until they were 100% ready. They're the ones who were willing to begin when they were only 60% sure. They gave themselves permission to figure things out along the way. You have to be willing to move before you feel fully prepared. That's the only way you'll ever build the strength you're looking for. Some of the greatest opportunities in life are missed, not because someone else took them, but because the person who had the chance overthought it. They talked themselves out of it. They said, "What if I fail? Or what if people judge me? Or what if it doesn't work?" But the real question is, what if it does work? What if this one action leads to something you can't even imagine yet? You'll never find out if you keep living inside your mind. Your thoughts are meant to guide you, not trap you. They should help you make choices, not delay them forever. Thinking becomes toxic when it keeps you frozen. It steals time. It robs you of experience. It convinces you to stay still when you should be moving. You don't need to have everything sorted out. You don't need all the pieces. You don't even need full confidence. You just need enough courage to take the first real step. And once you take it, things start to change. You gain feedback. You gain awareness. You start to see what's real instead of what you imagined. Most of the fear we carry comes from scenarios that don't even exist. They live in our imagination. They're built from doubt, not facts. And once you act, that fear shrinks. Because now, you're dealing with reality. You're learning, you're adapting. And that's where growth lives. It lives in the moment you stop thinking and start doing. You've got time, but not forever. The clock is ticking, whether you act or not. So the question is, how much longer will you let your thoughts hold you back from living the life you want? There's a cost to overthinking, and it's paid in missed chances, delayed progress, and regret. You can't afford to keep playing that game. At some point you've got to say, enough, enough worrying, enough delaying, enough hiding behind preparation. It's time to make a move, not a perfect one, just a real one, even if it's small, even if it's messy. The point is, you acted, and that separates you from the majority of people who are still waiting for the right time. You don't need to solve your whole life this week. You don't need to finish the race in one day. You just need to take the next honest step in front of you. One decision, one action, one change. That's how momentum builds, and momentum is the fuel that keeps progress alive. You can read all the books. You can watch all the videos. You can listen to every podcast. But until you act, nothing changes. Action is the proof that you're serious. It's the language of real commitment. People who take action, even imperfect action, build belief. They start to trust themselves because they're doing what most people won't. They're moving, they're adjusting, they're learning, and they're getting better every single day. The more you wait, the harder it gets. You give your mind more time to create doubts. You give your fear more space to grow. You start imagining everything that could go wrong. And pretty soon, you've convinced yourself to stay exactly where you are. That's how overthinking kills progress. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, quietly, one delay at a time, until you look up and realize a year has passed, and you're still in the same place. Don't let that happen. Don't give your future away to fear. Don't trade your potential for comfort. You're not here to think your life away. You're here to live it. And living requires action. Living requires movement. Living requires risk. If you want a different life, you have to take different steps. Most people don't fail because they took the wrong step. They fail because they didn't take any. You don't need permission to begin. You don't need more time to think. You need to decide that today is the day you stop waiting. Stop preparing endlessly. Stop doubting everything. Take the step. Make the call. Start the task. Hit send. Say yes. Say no. Whatever it is, do it. And don't just do it once. Keep doing it. Because the more you act, the more momentum you build. The more you wait, the heavier life feels. There's freedom on the other side of action. The kind of freedom that only comes when you stop thinking and start choosing. You're capable of more than you realize. But you'll never access that potential through endless reflection. You have to live your way into clarity. You have to walk into the unknown, learn through the experience, and adjust as you go. The best version of you isn't hiding in your thoughts. It's hiding in your actions. The more steps you take, the more you reveal who you really are. You don't find yourself through thinking. You build yourself through doing. So if you want to grow, stop overthinking your next move and just take it. The road will reveal itself as you walk. And before long, you'll look back and realize everything changed the moment you stopped waiting, the moment you acted, the moment you finally moved. That's how you get 1% better every day. And it starts right now, not after you think about it one more time, not after you sleep on it, not after someone else approves. Now this moment, this decision, this step, it's yours to take, and it's time. Chapter 4. Face discomfort instead of chasing easy distractions daily. The life you want is often found on the other side of discomfort, but most people will never reach it because they've trained themselves to run from anything that feels even a little bit hard. The moment something feels uncomfortable, they reach for their phone, scroll through meaningless content, turn on a show, grab a snack, or find some easy way to feel better for a few minutes. They're not lazy. They're just avoiding. They're numbing. They're trying to stay comfortable in a world that demands real effort to grow. But nothing meaningful happens while you're distracted. Progress doesn't come from doing what feels good right now. It comes from doing what matters, even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when no one's watching. If you keep choosing what's easy, your life stays the same. If you start choosing what's hard, your life starts to change. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's the beginning of every breakthrough. The things that make you sweat, that make you nervous, that test your patience, those are the things that build you. Every time you step into discomfort, you're training your mind to stay strong. You're teaching yourself that you don't need to be entertained all the time. You don't need to feel good to make progress. You don't need everything to be fun or exciting. You need discipline. You need commitment. You need the willingness to do what others won't. And that means facing discomfort without running from it. You sit with it, you feel it, and you keep going anyway. That's where your future is built. It's tempting to chase what feels easy. Everyone does it. It's normal to want comfort. But comfort doesn't grow you. It keeps you the same. You already know that. You've seen it in your own life. Think about all the goals you said you'd reach, the habits you said you'd build, the promises you made to yourself. What stopped you? Was it a lack of ability? No. It was the discomfort that came with staying consistent. It was the boredom of showing up every day. It was the resistance that hit you after the first few days of effort. And instead of pushing through, you reached for the distraction. You told yourself you'd come back to it later. But later turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And now you're wondering why you still feel stuck. This isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. And what matters is rarely easy. You're not supposed to feel comfortable all the time. Growth feels like stress before it feels like strength. But instead of pushing through that stress, most people escape it. They get lost in scrolling. They kill time with nonsense. They waste hours avoiding the very thing that would actually change them. Distractions are everywhere, but the real danger is not the distractions themselves, it's how quickly you reach for them. You don't even think about it anymore. The moment something feels hard, you look for the escape. That's the habit that's killing your progress. And the only way to change that is to start doing the opposite. Face the discomfort. Sit with the hard thing. Push through without running. You can't build mental strength if you keep turning away from pain. You can't develop discipline if you're always chasing comfort. And you'll never feel proud of yourself if all you do is avoid effort. The people who grow the most aren't the ones with perfect routines or massive talent. They're the ones who stay in the discomfort long enough to finish what they started. They feel the resistance and keep moving. They feel the boredom and still show up. They don't need to feel inspired every day. They just need to know that what they're doing matters. That's what keeps them going. And it can be the same for you, if you're willing to break the habit of escape. Every time you choose discomfort over distraction, you take your power back. You take control of your time. You take control of your mind. You stop reacting and start deciding. You begin to train yourself to handle hard things without shutting down. And over time your threshold for stress increases. Your ability to stay focused gets sharper. You stop needing constant stimulation. You stop needing to feel good just to do what's necessary. That's what real maturity looks like. You're not driven by emotion. You're driven by commitment. You're not living for comfort. You're living for growth. Ask yourself honestly, what are the distractions you keep turning to? What are you using to avoid discomfort? Is it your phone, your entertainment habits, pointless conversations, unnecessary tasks? Be real with yourself, because whatever you keep reaching for when life gets hard, that's what's holding you back. And you already know that none of those distractions are making you feel better long term. They give you temporary relief, but they steal your progress. They waste your potential. And every day you give in to them, you train your brain to avoid rather than face. But that pattern can be reversed. You can decide that discomfort is not something to fear. It's something to work through. There's freedom in facing discomfort. You learn that you're not fragile. You learn that you can handle more than you thought. You stop relying on perfect conditions. You stop blaming your mood. You just show up. You do the work. And at the end of the day you feel something real pride. Not because it was easy, but because it was hard and you still did it. That's what makes a difference. That's how confidence is built. Not from comfort, but from overcoming what most people avoid. Every time you do that, you get better. You get stronger. You get closer to the life you actually want. If you want to make real progress, you have to be honest about where you keep choosing easy. What areas of your life have been paused because of your need to stay comfortable? What have you been avoiding because it feels too unfamiliar? Those are the areas you need to go toward. The discomfort you're avoiding is the exact place you need to be working. That's the zone of growth. And if you spend your life avoiding it, you'll keep getting the same results. You'll keep feeling stuck. You'll keep wondering why nothing changes. But the truth is you can't create a new life by repeating the same comfortable habits. You have to make a new choice. Every single day. Start small. You don't have to fix your entire life today. But you do have to make one clear decision. Face what's uncomfortable. Do the thing you don't feel like doing. Stay in it long enough to learn something from it. Turn your phone off. Close the tab. Stop escaping. Start building. The difference between who you are and who you want to be lives in the uncomfortable moments you keep running from. Face them. Get through them. And then do it again tomorrow. That's how discipline is built. That's how you become 1% better every single day. Not by chasing easy, but by choosing what most people ignore. Not because it's fun, but because it matters. And that's enough. Chapter 5. Do what builds you, not what entertains you. The reason most people feel stuck is not because they don't have enough time, motivation, or knowledge. It's because they keep choosing what feels good over what actually makes them better. They fill their time with entertainment, but they never feel fulfilled. They chase short bursts of pleasure, but they miss out on long-term growth. And the problem with entertainment is that it gives you just enough stimulation to feel busy, but not enough value to change anything. You watch something, you laugh, you scroll, you click, and hours go by, but when it's over, you're right back where you started. No closer to your goals, no stronger, no sharper, just more distracted. If you're serious about getting better, you have to make a clear decision. Choose what builds you, not what entertains you. You don't need to cut out every form of fun, but you do need to stop using it as a substitute for progress. When life gets hard or boring, most people escape into entertainment instead of doing something meaningful. They say, "I need a break," when what they really mean is, "I don't want to deal with this right now." So they avoid, they delay, and they numb. The problem isn't that they rest, it's that they rest without earning it. They consume without creating. They sit still and expect life to move for them. But nothing that builds you happens by accident. It happens when you choose purpose over distraction. It happens when you pick up the book instead of the remote. When you practice a skill instead of binging another series. When you reflect instead of scroll. Every decision you make is either building you or wasting you. That's the truth. You know it when it's happening. There's a voice in your mind that says, "This isn't helping you," but you silence it with noise. And that's the habit that drains your potential. You're not losing to laziness. You're losing to cheap pleasure. It's not that you can't focus. It's that you've trained your brain to expect entertainment. So anything that takes effort feels exhausting. That's why reading feels hard. That's why working out feels heavy. That's why learning a new skill feels frustrating. But that feeling is the signal you're doing something that actually helps you grow. When you chase what builds you, it won't feel easy at first, but over time, it becomes who you are, and the results will follow. It's easy to convince yourself that you'll change later, that you'll work on your goals tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes a pattern, a routine of putting off the hard thing and reaching for comfort. You start justifying your distractions. You tell yourself, "I need to relax," but you're not relaxing, you're avoiding. There's a difference. Real rest feels earned. Real rest makes you feel better. Mindless entertainment leaves you numb, guilty, and empty. You know it. You've felt it. So ask yourself honestly, what would your life look like if you replaced half of your distractions with actions that actually build you? How different would your days feel? How different would you feel about yourself? Growth isn't loud, It doesn't come with flashing lights or applause. It's built in quiet, disciplined decisions. It's choosing a workout when you'd rather lay in bed. It's studying something useful when you'd rather scroll. It's having a real conversation when you'd rather zone out. The habits that build you won't always feel good while you're doing them, but they feel amazing once they're done. That's the difference. Entertainment gives you the feeling now and regret later. Growth gives you the challenge now and pride later. That trade-off is what separates people who get better from people who stay stuck. If you want to be part of the first group, you have to start choosing differently. Nobody will force you to make that change. The world is full of distractions. They're easy to find, but no one is coming to take your phone away. No one is going to remind you to get to work. No one will force you to use your time wisely. It's your life, your mind, your energy. And if you want to build something meaningful, you have to start treating your time like it matters. Because it does. Every hour you waste on things that don't matter is an hour you never get back. And one day, you'll look back and realize the biggest cost wasn't money or effort. It was the time you gave away to things that didn't build you. When you start choosing what builds you, everything shifts. You begin to walk differently. You speak with more conviction. You stop needing validation because you know you're doing the work. That internal strength only comes from real effort. You can't fake it. You can't buy it. It's earned through discipline, through repetition, through daily decisions that align with your values, not your cravings. And the more you act on what builds you, the less attractive entertainment becomes. Not because it disappears, but because you've raised your standard. You no longer settle for feeling good. You aim for becoming good. There's something powerful about waking up and knowing you're becoming the kind of person you respect. That's what happens when you choose to build. You stop living for the weekend. You stop waiting for life to improve itself. You become the one shaping your direction. And it doesn't take massive change overnight. It takes one choice, repeated often. Choose to read instead of scroll. Choose to move instead of lay down. Choose to create instead of consume. These are small acts, but they compound, they multiply. And before you know it, you're not just doing better. You are better, stronger, sharper, more focused, more alive. The truth is, most people won't do this. They'll keep entertaining themselves out of their own growth. They'll keep wasting time and blaming circumstances. But that doesn't have to be you. You can take a different path. You can choose the discomfort that builds you over the comfort that dulls you. And when you do, you begin to trust yourself. You don't need motivation every morning. You don't need someone to remind you of your goals, because you've made it a habit to choose what helps you grow. That kind of habit changes everything. It creates real results. It gives you real peace, because now you're living with intention, not impulse. Start today. Look at your schedule, your habits, your routines. Where are you choosing entertainment when you could be building? What's one action you've been avoiding that would make you better? Do it. Start small. Start simple. But start with purpose. Let your life be the product of your effort, not your avoidance. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be honest. Honest enough to admit when you've been wasting time. Honest enough to turn it around. That's how you begin. That's how you grow, not by chasing what feels good, but by choosing what makes you stronger. Every single day, one decision at a time. That's the path, and it's yours to walk. Chapter 6. Control your time before it controls your life. Every person on this planet has the same amount of time in a day, 24 hours. That's it. Nobody gets more. Nobody gets less. The difference is how people use those hours. Some take full responsibility for them. Others let the day run on autopilot. If you don't take control of your time, it will quietly take control of you. It won't ask. It won't warn you. It will just happen. You'll look up, and days will have passed. Then weeks. Then months. And nothing really changed. You stayed busy, but you didn't grow. You handled tasks, but never built anything meaningful. Because busyness is not progress. Being overwhelmed is not a badge of honor. It's a sign that your time is managing you, not the other way around. You cannot become who you want to be if you keep giving your time to things that don't move your life forward. The truth is, most people don't know where their time goes. They say they don't have time. But if you followed them for a week, you'd see exactly where it's going. Lost in distractions. Stuck in endless scrolling. Doing things out of habit, not intention. Saying yes to things that don't matter. Reacting instead of deciding. Time gets wasted. Not because people are lazy, but because they never created structure. They never said, "This is what I will protect, and this is what I will let go." If you don't define your time, others will do it for you, and they won't do it in your favor. Your job, your phone, your environment, your habits, they will all compete for your attention. And if you're not in charge, you will lose hours, energy, and direction every single day. Taking control of your time starts with facing the truth. You can't fix what you won't admit. You have to look at how you spend your days and ask, is this helping me or holding me back? That's not always a comfortable question, but it's necessary, because time is the one resource you can't get back. You can rebuild money, you can rebuild energy, but once a day is gone. So if you want to create a better life, the first step is to guard your hours like they matter, because they do. How you spend one day is how you spend your life. Every hour is a vote for the kind of future you're building. And if you're not choosing where those hours go, you're choosing to stay exactly where you are. People talk about motivation. They talk about goals. But none of that means anything without time. You could have the best plan in the world, but if your schedule is full of noise, nothing will happen. If you don't make space for growth, growth won't show up. It's not enough to want change. You have to create time for it. That means cutting out what doesn't matter. That means being okay with saying no. That means turning off the things that steal your attention. Discipline isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters first. Before the day gets away from you. Before distractions take over. Before other people's needs crowd your priorities. That's how strong people live. They don't hope for time. They make it. You don't need more hours in the day. You need a new relationship with the hours you already have. That means being clear, being firm, being consistent. Your time is not for everything and everyone. If you say yes to everything, you end up saying no to yourself. You cannot be available for everything and still expect to live a focused life. You have to decide what's worth your time and what isn't. And once you make that decision, protect it. Don't negotiate it every time you feel tired or distracted. Set your schedule with purpose and follow through on it, even when it's inconvenient. That's how you build real momentum. Most people don't realize how many moments they waste simply reacting. They check their phone every few minutes. They jump between tasks without finishing anything. They let notifications, emails, and messages pull them in every direction. And at the end of the day, they feel drained without doing anything meaningful. That's what happens when time controls you. You feel busy, but have nothing to show for it. That's not how your life should be. You deserve better, but better doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what matters. It comes from creating space for your goals, not squeezing them into leftovers. If you only work on your dreams when you have time, they'll never happen. You have to make time. You have to fight for it. Start by looking at your mornings. How you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. Do you wake up with purpose, or fall into distraction right away? Do you know what your top priorities are, or do you figure it out as you go? If the first hour of your day is full of chaos, the rest will follow. But if you take control early, you move with clarity. You're not just reacting to life, you're leading it. That kind of structure doesn't take away your freedom. It gives it to you, because now you're not guessing. You're not hoping. You're moving with intention. And that's how real progress is made. On purpose, not by accident. Don't confuse flexibility with freedom. People say they want more flexible time, but what they really want is more meaningful time. And that comes from structure, not randomness. When you know what you need to do, and you actually do it, you feel powerful, you feel clear. You're not overwhelmed because you're not wasting time. That feeling is worth protecting. That's why you must treat your time like something valuable, because it is. Time spent wisely turns into results. Time wasted turns into regret. And nobody wants to look back and realize they traded their life for cheap distractions and empty routines. It's not always easy. You'll be tempted. You'll have days where distractions feel easier than discipline. But that's when it matters most. That's when you choose the life you want over the habits that hold you back. You don't need to fix everything in one day, but you do need to make better use of the one you have. 1 hour of focused effort is more powerful than 5 hours of scattered energy. Don't aim for busy. Aim for clear. Don't aim for more. Aim for better. When you take control of your time, everything else gets better. Your mind feels lighter. Your goals feel closer. And your life starts to move in the right direction, because you're driving it, not drifting in it. It all comes down to choices. What you say yes to, what you protect, what you walk away from. You have a limited number of hours. Don't waste them on things that keep you stuck. Build a life that reflects what matters most. Not someday, not when you feel ready. Today, because time doesn't wait. Either you use it or you lose it. So take the lead. Create the structure. Own your schedule. And watch how everything in your life begins to align. Not by chance, but by choice. That's how you control your time before it controls your life. And that's how you get 1% better every single day. Chapter 7. Repeat small wins until they feel automatic daily. You don't need to change your life overnight. That's the mistake most people make. They try to do everything at once. They go from doing nothing to trying to do everything, and of course, it doesn't last. They burn out. They give up. Then they blame themselves for not being disciplined. But the truth is, discipline isn't about going all in once. It's about learning how to win in small ways, over and over again, until those wins feel natural. That's where real progress begins. You don't need a big moment. You need a small action, repeated enough times that it no longer feels like effort. It just becomes part of who you are. That's the goal. To build so many small wins into your life that your growth becomes automatic. Most people underestimate the power of repetition. They want fast results. But growth isn't dramatic. It's not loud. It's consistent. You show up. You do the work. You repeat it. The first few times feel hard. They take energy. They take focus. But if you keep at it, that same action begins to feel lighter. It becomes easier. And eventually, it becomes part of your rhythm. That's when it sticks. That's when it no longer feels like effort. It just feels normal. That's what you're aiming for. Not a quick burst of motivation, but a system of habits that keep running even when motivation fades. It's easy to overlook the small wins. People don't celebrate them because they think they don't matter. They think success is built through big achievements. But those big moments are just the result of stacking tiny ones. You drink water instead of soda. You read a few pages instead of scrolling. You wake up 10 minutes earlier. You complete one task you said you would. Those might feel small, but when you do them every day, they start to shape how you think and how you act. You begin to trust yourself. You feel more capable, and that builds momentum. Most people wait for motivation to appear. But if you start small and stay consistent, motivation shows up after the habits are already moving. Your brain adapts to what you repeat. That's why habits matter. They shape your identity. Every time you follow through on a small action, you tell your mind, "This is who I am." And the more often you repeat that action, the stronger that identity becomes. That's how confidence is built. Not through talk, through action. Real belief comes from evidence. And the only way to create that evidence is through daily repetition. You do the work. You stay consistent. You don't look for perfection. You look for rhythm. You're not trying to win once. You're trying to win so many times that it becomes automatic. That's how you change your life. You don't need to force huge changes. You just need to repeat what works. The actions that make you better, even if they feel small, especially when they feel small. That's the key. Anyone can do something once. But if you want transformation, you need to do it again. Until you stop thinking about it. Until it becomes part of your default behavior. You don't have to fight to do it anymore. It just happens. That's the power of habit. That's the power of consistency. It removes decision-making. It removes friction. You don't need to ask yourself every day if you're going to show up. You just show up, because that's what you do. Think about it like this. If you can create just one small win in your morning, you've already started your day with momentum. That win can lead to another, and another. Before long, your whole day looks different. Not because something massive happened, but because you started with a small success and built on it. That's how days become productive. That's how weeks become powerful. That's how change becomes real. You don't need to overhaul everything at once. You need to master the simple things, the small wins, the repeatable ones. Those are what build the foundation of a strong life. People often wait for the right time to start. But the truth is, the right time doesn't matter. What matters is what you do every day after you start. It's the repetition that changes you, not the start itself. Starting is easy. Anyone can start. What separates people who succeed is what they do on the days they don't feel like it. On the days when it's boring. On the days when it's hard. That's when the repetition matters most. When you do it, even though you're tired. Even though no one sees it. Even though no one is clapping for you. That's when you build something real. And it always starts with one small step. This process isn't flashy. It's not going to impress anyone right away. But if you stay with it, if you keep collecting small wins, you will wake up one day and realize you're not the same person. Your thoughts will be clearer. Your decisions will be stronger. You'll have more control over your time, your energy, and your habits. Not because you got lucky, but because you earned it. You kept showing up. You kept doing the work. You repeated the wins until they became part of your identity. That kind of progress is rare because it requires patience. But if you're willing to be patient, you'll build something that lasts. This is how strong people are built. Not through intensity, but through consistency. Not by waiting for the perfect mood, but by doing the small things on the hard days. That's how you take control of your life. You don't need to climb a mountain today. Just take the next small step. Do the thing that's in front of you. Make your bed. Finish your task. Keep your word. That's how momentum builds. And once momentum is on your side, everything becomes easier. Not because the work changes, but because you've changed. You're no longer thinking about doing the work. You're just doing it. That's the point where progress becomes permanent. So if you feel stuck, don't look for something massive to change. Look for one small thing you can do, and repeat it until it sticks. That's how you reset your mind. That's how you regain control. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing something, and doing it consistently. Repeat your wins. Stack your victories. Build a routine that helps you grow, even on the days you don't feel strong. Because the truth is, strength isn't about how you feel. It's about what you do. And the strongest people in the world are the ones who do the right thing, over and over, until it becomes second nature. That can be you. Start small. Stay consistent. Keep going until it's automatic. That's how you get 1% better every day. Chapter 8. Speak to yourself like someone you believe in. The way you talk to yourself is the way you train your mind. Most people don't realize it, but the words they use every day shape how they think, how they act, and how they feel. You can build yourself up or tear yourself down with nothing more than the sentences you repeat when no one's around. If you spoke to someone else the way you speak to yourself, would it help them grow or make them shrink? That question reveals everything. People say they want more confidence, more discipline, more strength. But you can't build any of that if you're constantly criticizing yourself in your own mind. You have to start speaking like you believe in the person you're trying to become. The truth is, Self-talk is not just something soft or emotional, it's strategic. It's part of your internal system. When you wake up and say, "I never get anything right," your brain listens. It stores that message. It looks for proof. It starts seeing every mistake as confirmation of your weakness. But if you say, "I'm learning and I'm improving every day," your brain adjusts to that too. It starts noticing your effort. It reinforces your progress. You're not lying to yourself. You're choosing to focus on the direction you're going, not the setbacks you've faced. That small shift in language can change your entire behavior. You cannot get better if the voice in your head is your biggest enemy. You can't reach your goals while fighting yourself the entire way. Most people lose before they even begin, simply because they don't believe they deserve to win. And that belief is formed through repetition. Through the daily words they speak when they're tired, when they fail, when they're not sure what comes next. That's when your inner voice matters most. It's not hard to be kind to yourself when things are going well. The test is how you speak when they're not. When things fall apart, when you mess up, that's when your mindset is either shaped or shattered. You are with yourself all day. Your voice is the one you hear more than anyone else's. So what are you saying? Are you encouraging yourself to keep going, or are you tearing yourself down with guilt, shame, and doubt? The people who grow are not the ones who avoid mistakes. They're the ones who don't beat themselves up after making one. They learn, they adapt, and they talk to themselves in a way that keeps them moving forward, not locked in regret. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Being harsh doesn't make you stronger. Being honest and supportive does. It helps you move past the problem and focus on the next step. You can tell a lot about a person by how they handle their own failures. Some people spiral. They say things like, "I'm so stupid, I always mess this up. I'm never going to figure it out." Others say, "That didn't go as planned, but I'll fix it. I've done hard things before, and I can do this too." Those words come from the same person, but they produce completely different outcomes. One shuts down effort. The other creates momentum. One builds fear. The other builds resilience. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be intentional. You need to decide that your internal dialogue will help you grow, not hold you back. Most people think that being tough on themselves is the way to grow. They confuse self-discipline with self-criticism, but they're not the same. Discipline is action. Criticism is judgment. You can hold yourself to a high standard without tearing yourself down in the process. You can say, "I can do better," without saying, "I'm a failure." That distinction is critical, because when your voice is filled with judgment, it drains your energy. It creates hesitation. You stop taking risks. You play small, but when your voice is clear, focused and steady, it builds trust. You begin to feel capable. You're not ignoring your flaws. You're choosing not to let them define your identity. The words you speak to yourself every morning set the tone for the entire day. If you start the day telling yourself you're behind, you're not good enough, or you can't catch up, you're planting doubt before anything even happens. But if you begin by reminding yourself of your goals, your values and your effort, you're planting focus. It doesn't take long. Just a few sentences spoken with clarity can rewire your focus for the next 12 hours. That's how powerful your voice is. And that's why it matters to use it with purpose. You are your own coach. You are your own guide. You are your own motivator. And if you don't support yourself, don't expect the world to do it for you. You wouldn't let someone else talk to someone you care about with disrespect or discouragement. So why do you let yourself do it inside your own head? You have to shift the standard. If you wouldn't say it to a friend, don't say it to yourself. If you wouldn't push someone you love into a spiral of doubt, stop doing that with your own thoughts. You deserve the same respect, the same belief, and the same encouragement you would give to someone else. Not because you've already succeeded, but because you're showing up, because you're trying, because you're doing the work, and that deserves support. The power of your voice doesn't come from volume, it comes from direction. What direction are your words sending you every day? Toward action or hesitation? Toward strength or avoidance? Toward belief or fear? The next time you hear yourself speak something negative, pause. Ask, is this helping me or hurting me? That question alone can start to change the script. You don't have to lie to yourself. You don't have to say everything is perfect. But you do need to speak with purpose. Say what pushes you to grow. Say what keeps you moving. Say what builds your self-respect. That's not toxic positivity. That's healthy focus. And once you get that right, everything else gets easier. Because when your inner voice is strong, you don't fall apart so easily. You bounce back faster. You face stress with more clarity. You stop needing outside approval because your own voice is enough. And that kind of stability doesn't come from luck. It comes from repetition. Just like a muscle, your mindset gets stronger when you train it. When you consistently speak like someone who believes in their own journey, that's how you build confidence. That's how you create emotional strength. That's how you become the person who doesn't just survive the day, but leads it with purpose. So from now on, speak to yourself with respect, with truth, with strength. Choose words that guide you instead of trap you. Use your voice to lift your mind instead of pull it down. Remind yourself every single day that you are in progress, not in pieces. You're growing, you're learning, you're getting better, and you are allowed to believe in your own potential. Not someday, now. Speak like that, live like that, and your results will follow, because the mind listens, and the words you use become the path you walk. Say what matters. Say what lifts. Say what moves you. That's how you build a future worth waking up for. One word at a time. One belief at a time. Every single day. Chapter 9. Let go of people who drain your energy. There are people in your life right now who make you feel heavier every time you interact with them. You might not talk about it, but you feel it. After a conversation, you feel drained instead of energized. After spending time with them, you feel confused, irritated, or just mentally tired. That's not a coincidence. That's not just a mood. That's what happens when someone keeps pulling from your energy without giving anything meaningful back. And if you let that go on for too long, It begins to wear you down. It affects how you think. It shifts your focus. It steals time and attention that should be spent on your goals, your growth, your peace. If you want to build a better life, you have to be willing to let go of the people who are quietly holding you back. Letting go doesn't always mean cutting someone off with anger or turning everything into drama. Sometimes it just means stepping back, creating space, drawing clear lines. And no, it's not easy, especially when the people draining your energy are the ones you've known for a long time. But familiarity doesn't equal value. Just because someone's been around for years doesn't mean they deserve unlimited access to your mind or your time. Relationships should help you grow, not constantly force you to recover. And if you find yourself constantly trying to explain your worth, justify your goals, or defend your peace, it might be time to question why you keep giving energy to someone who doesn't respect it. You only get so much energy in a day, and where that energy goes decides how far you grow. Some people recharge you. They listen. They challenge you in healthy ways. They believe in what you're becoming. Others drain you because they only come with problems, complaints, or emotional chaos. They interrupt your focus. They mock your progress. They question your drive. And if you let them close for too long, you start to mirror their mindset. Their doubt becomes your doubt. Their low standards become your ceiling. And the longer you tolerate it, the more it becomes normal. That's how people stay stuck. Not because they lack discipline, but because they stay surrounded by people who have none. You don't need to feel guilty for protecting your energy. You're not being cold or selfish. You're being responsible, because the quality of your life is directly connected to the people you allow around you. If someone constantly drains you, they are costing you more than just a bad conversation. They're costing you clarity. They're taking focus away from what actually matters. You can't be your best self when you're constantly cleaning up emotional messes that someone else brings into your world. You have a right to protect your peace. You have a right to grow without permission. And sometimes growth requires distance, not hate, just space. Enough space to breathe, think, and move forward without constantly looking over your shoulder. It's not just the loud, toxic people you need to step away from. It's also the quiet doubters, the ones who smile on the surface but never support you deeply, the ones who always find a way to bring negativity into your wins, the ones who never celebrate your growth because it reminds them of what they're not doing. Pay attention to how you feel after being around someone. That's your real answer. Energy doesn't lie. It reveals what words try to cover. If your energy dips every time you're near them, it's a sign. And the sooner you honor that sign, the sooner you begin to build a life that feels lighter, clearer, stronger. You don't owe everyone access to you just because they want it. You don't need to explain why you're moving differently. Growth is personal. It won't always make sense to people who are still committed to staying the same. That's okay. You're not leaving them behind out of ego. You're moving forward out of necessity. You're choosing a future that aligns with your values, your vision, your peace. And that choice will never feel comfortable at first. It'll feel strange. It might feel lonely. But it's not wrong. It's healthy. It's mature. It's what real self-respect looks like. Choosing not to keep people in your life who make it harder to become who you're meant to be. The fear of disappointing people keeps a lot of good people stuck. They stay in friendships that drain them. They keep answering messages they don't want to respond to. They keep showing up to conversations that go nowhere. Why? Because they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But here's the truth. Every time you protect someone else's comfort over your own peace, you hurt yourself. You shrink your energy. You delay your growth. And over time, you forget what it feels like to live with clarity. You were not born to carry everyone. You were not built to please every voice. You have a life to live, a purpose to fulfill, and you can't do that if you're constantly dragged by people who refuse to grow with you. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care enough about your future to stop pouring energy into people who are not willing to meet you halfway. You can love people from a distance. You can wish them well without keeping them close. You can move forward without explaining every step. The people who are meant to grow with you will never make you feel like your growth is a threat. They will clap when you win. They will check in when you're tired. They will understand when you need space. And if someone can't handle that, you're not the problem. They are. You're not asking for too much. You're just not willing to settle for too little anymore. Start paying close attention to how you feel around certain people. Do they pull you forward or hold you down? Do they bring clarity or confusion? Do they support your standards or slowly chip away at them? Don't ignore the answers. Trust your observations. If you constantly feel exhausted after being around someone, it's not random. It's the result of repeated emotional withdrawals without deposits. You deserve relationships that give you energy, not just take it. And the first step to finding those relationships is letting go of the ones that no longer serve your growth. It's not cold. It's wise. It's not rude. It's necessary. And the sooner you act on that truth, the sooner you'll feel free to build the life that actually fits you. Not everyone who starts with you is meant to finish with you. Some people were part of your past, but they can't walk with you into your future. And that doesn't make them bad. It just means their chapter in your story is done. Stop trying to drag old characters into a new season. Stop lowering your energy to match people who refuse to rise. You're not abandoning them. You're choosing to honor where you're headed. And that decision might feel hard today, but it will give you strength tomorrow. Your energy is your responsibility. Protect it, preserve it, and share it only with those who make your life feel more meaningful, not more exhausting. That's how you grow. That's how you heal. That's how you stay 1% better. Every single day. Chapter 10. Keep building even when nothing looks different yet. There will be times in your life when you're doing all the right things and still feel like nothing is changing. You'll wake up early, put in the work, stay focused, stay consistent, and look around only to find everything looks the same. That's where most people stop. That's the moment where doubt creeps in and whispers, "What's the point?" But that moment is exactly when you need to keep going. Because progress isn't always obvious. Growth doesn't always announce itself. Change is happening underneath the surface before it ever shows up in visible ways. The people who win long term are the ones who keep building when there's no spotlight, no applause, no immediate payoff. You're not just building results, you're building a person. You're building someone who can show up with discipline even when motivation is nowhere to be found. You're building someone who doesn't rely on outside validation to keep going. That kind of strength isn't built in moments of excitement. It's built when nothing around you feels rewarding, when everything in you wants to slow down, give up, or start over, but you don't. You keep showing up. You keep following through. You keep doing the work, not because you see the results, but because you believe in where you're going. That's real belief. That's real maturity. And that's what makes all the difference in the long run. Consistency isn't about doing something until it works. It's about doing it because it's the kind of person you've chosen to be. You don't just build habits, you build identity. The gym session that doesn't change your body today still builds your discipline. The quiet hour of reading that no one sees still builds your knowledge. The small tasks done with care still build your character. It's not wasted. None of it is wasted. But you have to stay focused on the bigger picture. If you judge your progress based on what you can see in the mirror, in your bank account, or in the number of likes you get, you'll quit too soon. But if you stay rooted in the principle that every action is part of the process, you'll keep going. And that's what actually gets you there. One of the hardest things to accept is that the work you're doing today might not show results for weeks, months, or even years. And that's okay. Real growth requires patience. Just because it's not visible doesn't mean it's not valuable. You don't plant a seed and check it every hour. You trust that the process takes time. You water it. You care for it. You let it develop. Your habits, your decisions, your effort, they're the seeds. And your future self is the result. The problem is we live in a world that expects instant feedback. If we don't see something quickly, we assume it's not working. But your life isn't an app. Real progress takes time to build. And it always starts showing up later than you want it to. There's a quiet strength in staying consistent without recognition. When no one's clapping, when no one's watching, when no one understands why you keep working so hard when there's nothing to show for it yet. That kind of strength isn't celebrated, but it's rare. And it's what separates those who rise from those who stay stuck. Everyone loves the results. Everyone admires the finish line, but few are willing to run the miles in silence. That's what this chapter of your life might be. The silent miles, the hours where it feels like you're invisible. But invisible isn't the same as unimportant. Sometimes the most important work happens in the quiet. And if you stop during the quiet, you'll never get to the breakthrough. You have to stop asking for proof before you commit. Waiting to see results before believing in yourself is like standing in front of a fire saying, "Give me heat, and then I'll add wood." That's not how anything works. You add the wood. You build the fire. You give it your full effort before it gives anything back. That's how progress works. You go all in before it looks like anything is happening. You put in the effort, not because the rewards are guaranteed, but because the process shapes you. Every day you show up without results, you're learning something important, how to keep going without needing immediate validation. You don't always see the change happening, but others will. One day someone will ask you how you became so disciplined, so grounded, so focused, and you'll look back and realize It started on the days when nothing was working, on the days when you felt stuck but still showed up. That's where confidence is built, not in the highs but in the lows you kept pushing through. Your character is forged in repetition, in choosing to stay loyal to your goals even when they feel distant. That loyalty is rare. Most people are only committed when it's convenient. But you're not doing this to impress people. You're doing it to become someone you're proud of. There will be moments where everything in you wants to take a break, not because you're tired but because you're discouraged. Those moments will tempt you to pause, to change paths, to lower your standards. That's where your mindset matters most. You don't quit because things are slow. You don't adjust your goals because the timeline feels uncomfortable. You trust the process you started. You remember why you began. You remember the pain of staying the same. And you keep going, not perfectly but intentionally. Even if you move slower than before, even if your effort doesn't look impressive, movement is still movement. And momentum is always created by continuing, never by quitting. You won't always get support. People won't always understand. But you're not doing this for the crowd. You're doing it for the future version of you. The one who will look back and thank you for staying with it. For not giving up when it was easier to stop. For holding the line when there was no obvious reward. Most people don't get better because they never get far enough into the process to experience the shift. They stop just before it gets good, just before the change kicks in. Don't let that be your story. Be the person who finishes. Be the one who keeps building, even when the foundation still looks empty. Because once the structure starts rising, everyone will see what you were working on, but only you will know how much it took to stay committed when nothing looked different yet. The quiet seasons are not wasted. They're where you develop the habits that will carry you through the rest of your life. Don't rush through them. Don't curse them. Use them. Let them teach you patience. Let them train your discipline. Let them build your resilience. This isn't just about getting results. This is about becoming someone who doesn't give up when it's hard. Someone who doesn't fold under silence. Someone who builds when others wait. That's the mindset that lasts. That's the character that can weather any season. Keep stacking those days. Keep doing the right thing. And when it finally shows, it won't be a surprise. It'll be proof of everything you've been becoming in the dark. That's what real progress looks like. Quiet, steady, relentless. Keep building, keep becoming, even when nothing looks different yet.